First contact in the storm. The rain hammered against the windows of Dr. Amara Singh's research station like countless tiny fists demanding entry. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the barren Montana landscape in stark flashes of purple-white. She should have evacuated with the others when the storm warnings came, but her regenerative tissue experiments were at a crucial stage. Just a few more hours of monitoring. The emergency alert system crackled to life, its harsh tone cutting through the storm's fury. Unidentified atmospheric entry detected. All residents seek shelter immediately. Amara rushed to the observation deck, her heart pounding. Through her reinforced windows, she watched an object trailing fire pierce the clouds, its descent too controlled to be a meteor. The object disappeared behind the ridge of pine-covered hills, and moments later, a deep boom echoed across the valley. Against all protocol and common sense, she grabbed her emergency medical kit and rushed to her all-terrain vehicle. As head of xenobiology research at the station, she couldn't ignore the possibility of first contact, even if it meant risking her life in the worst storm of the decade. The ATV's wheels fought for purchase on the muddy track as she followed the object's trajectory. Lightning revealed glimpses of disturbed earth and broken trees, creating a path of destruction that led to a small clearing. There, half buried in mud, lay a vessel unlike anything human engineering could produce. Its hull seemed to ripple like liquid metal even when stationary. "Hello," Amara called out, her voice nearly lost in the wind. "I'm a doctor. I'm here to help." A section of the hull became transparent, revealing a figure inside. Humanoid, but definitely not human. The being's skin had a subtle iridescence, like mother-of-pearl, and what appeared to be bioluminescent markings pulsed weakly across its face and arms. It was clearly injured, dark fluid seeping from multiple wounds. Without hesitation, Amara rushed forward. The alien's eyes opened. They were completely silver, with no pupils or iris, yet somehow conveyed both pain and fear. "Please," it spoke, the word appearing in Amara's mind rather than her ears. "They must not find me." "Who?" Amara asked, already assessing the injuries. The alien's anatomy was different, but she could recognize severe trauma when she saw it. "Who's looking for you?" Both sides, the alien managed, wincing as Amara helped them from the wreckage. "Those who profit from hatred between our peoples. I am Lyris, diplomatic envoy of the Celestial Concordat. I came seeking peace, but they shot me down." Thunder crashed overhead as Amara made her decision. Her research station had a secure underground lab, equipped with advanced medical equipment. It was intended for hazardous materials research, but it would serve just as well as a hiding place. "I'm Dr. Amara Singh," she said, supporting Lyris's weight as they stumbled toward the ATV. "And I swear I'll help you, but we need to move fast." That entry wasn't exactly subtle. Others will be coming to investigate. As if to confirm her words, distant engines could be heard approaching through the storm. Lyris's silvery eyes widened in alarm. "Military forces, both yours and mine, if they find me here." "They won't," Amara said firmly, helping Lyris into the vehicle. "I spent years studying theoretical xenobiology, preparing for a moment like this. I can help you heal, and maybe together we can figure out why someone would want to prevent peace between our species." As they drove through the storm, Amara caught glimpses of searchlights behind them. She took a treacherous shortcut through a ravine, one that only locals knew was passable. Lyris watched her with those mysterious silver eyes, and Amara felt something pass between them. Trust, perhaps, or something more. "Your heart rate increases when you look at me," Lyris observed, their telepathic voice tinged with curiosity. "Is it fear?" Amara felt her cheeks warm despite the cold rain dripping down her face. "No," she said honestly. "Fascination. You're incredible." A small smile curved Lyris's iridescent lips. "As are you, Dr. Singh. Most humans would have run from me or tried to capture me, yet you risk everything to help." They reached the research station just as helicopters began sweeping the crash site. In the underground lab, as Amara worked to treat Lyris's wounds using a combination of human medicine and intuition, she couldn't shake the feeling that this night would change everything, not just for her and Lyris, but for both their species. What she didn't know yet was just how right she was, or how dangerous the path ahead would become. As the storm raged on above them, Amara began to realize that she hadn't just saved an alien diplomat. She'd taken the first step in a journey that would challenge everything she thought she knew about life, love, and the true meaning of humanity. Trust across stars. The underground lab hummed with the soft pulse of medical equipment as Amara studied the readings from her latest scan of Lyris's wounds. The alien diplomat lay on the examination table, their pearlescent skin glowing faintly in the dim light. 3 days had passed since the crash, and while the immediate danger had passed, they were far from safe. "Your cellular regeneration rate is fascinating," Amara murmured, watching as damaged tissue knit itself back together under her microscope. "With the application of the synthetic growth factors I developed, you're healing at triple the expected rate." Lyris's thoughts brushed against her mind, warm with amusement. "You say that about everything concerning my biology, Doctor." A pause, then softer. "Amara." She looked up, meeting those mercurial eyes. Over the past days, she'd learned to read their subtle shifts. How they brightened with interest, swirled with concern, darkened with pain. Right now, they held something else, something that made her pulse quicken. "Your curiosity is refreshing," Lyris continued. "Most would see me as a threat or an opportunity. You see me as a wonder." "How could I not?" Amara replied, setting aside her instruments. "Everything about you challenges what we thought we knew about life itself. Your bioluminescence responds to emotional states. Your telepathy operates on principles that defy our understanding of physics and your cellular structure." "You're doing it again," Lyris interrupted, amusement coloring their thoughts. They sat up, moving with the fluid grace that characterized their species despite their injuries. "Speaking of science to avoid addressing what's growing between us." Above them, the faint thrum of helicopter rotors reminded them of their precarious situation. Military patrols still combed the area, and Amara's colleagues had been ordered to stay away from the facility due to a fabricated containment breach. Only her high-security clearance and reputation had kept them from forcing their way in. "We don't have time for whatever this is," Amara said, though she didn't move away when Lyris reached for her hand. "You said there are people trying to prevent peace between our species. We need to focus on that." "The Harbingers," Lyris confirmed, their expression darkening. "A shadow organization with roots in both our governments. They believe conflict between our species is inevitable, so they work to ensure it happens on their terms." Their fingers intertwined with Amara's, sending a subtle electric tingle up her arm. "But perhaps they fear this most of all." "What?" "Connection. Understanding. The possibility that we might see each other as more than merely alien." The medical monitors beat softly in the background as they sat in silence, both aware of the weight of the moment. Amara had spent her career preparing for first contact, but nothing had prepared her for this. The way her scientific detachment crumbled in the face of Lyris's gentle wisdom, how their presence filled spaces in her soul she hadn't known were empty. "They're going to find us eventually," she said quietly. "Even with my security clearance, they'll realize something's wrong. And your people." "Will have tracked my emergency beacon here," Lyris finished. "Yes, but before they do, there's something you need to see." They pressed a small crystal into her palm. "The evidence I was bringing to your governments. Proof of the Harbinger's activities and their plans to trigger an interstellar war." The crystal pulsed with soft light, interfacing with Amara's lab computers. Data streamed across the screens: classified documents, surveillance footage, communication logs. A conspiracy spanning decades, carefully nurturing fear and mistrust between humans and the celestial Concordat. "This is why they shot you down," Amara breathed, reading through the files. "If this got out, it would destroy their carefully constructed narrative of inevitable conflict," Lyris confirmed. "But the data means nothing without context. I need someone who understands both worlds, someone who can help present this truth in a way both sides will accept." Their silver eyes met hers. "I need you, Amara." The weight of the moment pressed down on her. Everything she'd worked for, everything she believed in, had led to this. But taking on the Harbingers meant becoming a target, meant leaving behind the safety of her academic life. A sudden alert from her security systems interrupted her thoughts. Multiple vehicles approaching the facility. Military encryption codes. "They're here," she said, heart racing. "Both sides, probably." Lyris stood, their bioluminescent markings pulsing with determination. "Then we must make our choice now. Stay and maintain the fragile peace of ignorance, or run and fight for a real chance at understanding between our peoples." They held out their hand. "What will it be, Dr. Singh?" Amara looked at the data, still streaming across her screens, then at the remarkable being before her. A living bridge between two civilizations, proof that connection across the stars wasn't just possible, but natural, perhaps even inevitable. She took Lyris's hand. "We run," she said firmly. "But first, we need to make copies of that data. And I have a few ideas about where we can go. Places even the Harbingers don't know about." As they rushed to gather what they needed, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. But Amara felt strangely calm. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just studying the unknown, she was embracing it with all its danger and promise. And she wasn't alone. Dangerous revelations. Hidden in an abandoned mining facility deep in the Colorado Rockies, Amara and Lyris worked frantically to decode the remaining data from the crystal. 2 weeks had passed since their escape from the research station, and each revelation made the scope of the Harbinger's conspiracy more terrifying. "Look at this," Amara said, pointing to a decoded transmission. "They've been staging accidental conflicts along the border regions for years. Every diplomatic mission that might have led to peace, sabotaged. Every cultural exchange, undermined." Lyris moved closer, their silvery eyes reflecting the screen's glow. "And this," they added, bringing up another file. "Weapons development disguised as defense research. They're preparing for a war they intend to start." The close proximity sent shivers down Amara's spine, but she forced herself to focus. "We've identified key Harbinger operatives in both governments. Admiral Zhu on Earth, Curator Ven in the Concordat. But why? What do they gain from war?" "Power," Lyris said simply. "Fear makes people surrender their freedoms. War makes them desperate for strong leaders. Their bioluminescent markings pulse with sadness, and some simply profit from suffering." A proximity alarm cut through their discussion. On the security feeds, they watched black vehicles approaching through the mountain pass. "They found us," Amara whispered. But as she moved to start their evacuation plan, Lyris caught her arm. "Wait," they said, silver eyes intense. "Before we run again, I must tell you something. The real reason I chose Earth for my mission." "Why?" "Because my people have a gift. We can sense compatible souls across space itself. I felt you, Amara. Your curiosity, your compassion, your courage. I came looking for an ally. I found something more." Understanding bloomed in Amara's heart as Lyris's thoughts entwined with hers, sharing emotions too complex for words. But the moment was shattered by the sound of approaching helicopters. "We'll continue this discussion," Amara promised, grabbing their emergency packs. "But first, we need to reach the secondary site. Ready?" Lyris nodded, their markings glowing with determination. "Always. Lead the way, my compatible soul." They escaped through hidden tunnels as their hunters closed in, carrying not just evidence of conspiracy, but hope for a different future, one where understanding trumped fear and love crossed the boundaries of worlds. Escape to the stars. The old observatory atop Mauna Kea stood silhouetted against Hawaii's star-filled sky. Inside, Amara and Lyris made their final preparations. After 3 weeks of running, gathering allies, and avoiding assassination attempts, they'd reached the endgame of their plan. "The quantum transmitter is ready," Amara said, connecting the last components. "When we broadcast the evidence, every communication system in both territories will receive it simultaneously. The Harbingers won't be able to stop it." Lyris worked on their own device, their pearlescent skin reflecting starlight through the dome's opening. "My people's rescue ship will arrive in 20 minutes. The temporal window is narrow." "You mean our ship?" Amara corrected, touching Lyris's arm. Their shared emotions flowed through the contact. Love, determination, hope. "Are you certain?" Lyris asked softly. "Leaving Earth?" "Earth will survive. The truth will set both our peoples free. But us," she smiled, "we belong among the stars now." Suddenly, alarms blared. Multiple vehicles approaching. On their screens, they watched Admiral Zhou's forces converging from one direction, Curator Ven's from another. "Perfect timing," Lyris said grimly. "They've finally realized they should work together to stop us." Ironic. Amara initiated the broadcast sequence. Across 2 civilizations, screens lit up with decades of conspiracy laid bare. Protests erupted in major cities. Military forces stood down, refusing orders from exposed commanders. The observatory's doors burst open. Armed forces poured in, led by Zhou and Ven themselves. But as they raised their weapons, a brilliant light filled the dome. The rescue ship hovered above, its energy field surrounding Amara and Lyris. As they began to ascend, Amara looked down at the frustrated faces of their enemies. "Your time of breeding fear is over," she announced. "Our peoples will choose understanding over hatred, love over fear." The ship pulled them to safety just as the shooting started. As Earth fell away below them, Amara and Lyris held each other close, their unlikely love having changed the course of 2 civilizations. "Where to now?" Amara asked, watching her homeworld become a blue marble in the distance. Lyris's markings pulsed with joy. Everywhere. Bridge between worlds. 1 year later, the celestial Concordat capital. Standing before the newly constructed Unity Embassy, Amara adjusted her diplomatic robes, still amazed by how much had changed. The massive crystalline structure represented everything she and Lyris had fought for, a permanent bridge between their civilizations. Nervous, Lyris appeared beside her, their silver eyes swirling with affection. Their bioluminescent markings pulsed in sync with Amara's heartbeat, a sign of their deep connection. About making history, always. She smiled, taking their hand. But at least we're doing it together. Inside the Grand Hall, representatives from both species gathered for the signing of the Harmonious Accord, the first true peace treaty between humans and the Concordat. As joint ambassadors, they would oversee this new era of cooperation. They're calling us the star-crossed diplomats in the media. Amara whispered as they took their places on stage. A bit dramatic, don't you think? Says the woman who helped me steal a ship and broadcast classified data across 2 civilizations. Lyris teased mentally. The ceremony began. As they signed the treaty, their hands joined. Amara reflected on their journey. The harbingers were gone, their leaders facing justice. The fear they'd cultivated was being replaced by curiosity and hope. Already, joint scientific missions were exploring the galaxy, and cultural exchange programs were flourishing. Later, watching twin suns set from their private quarters, Amara and Lyris held each other close. "We did it," Amara said softly. "We actually changed everything." "No," Lyris corrected, their markings glowing with love. "We showed them what was possible. They chose to change themselves." As stars appeared in the alien sky, their light seemed to promise more adventures ahead. But for now this was enough, 2 souls from different worlds, proving that love could bridge the vastness of space itself. The real wonder, they both knew, was just beginning.